let's get rocking here. So again, thanks to everyone that submitted questions. Appreciate that. We're going to go through these things and hopefully give you some good answers to these to reduce some of the bottlenecks that you may be experiencing and show you different ways of doing things that you may not have thought about or know about. Some of these little sneaky tips. So let's get rocking. Again, as a thank you for joining the webinar. Please go over to my Instagram and sign up for this coaching habits checklist. That's been a popular tool that a lot of coaches like to use with their teams to kind of rank themselves and rank their other coaches on the important things when it comes to coaching. So please go over there and check that out. All right. First question. How can I quickly clone and adjust days? So that's actually a pretty simple answer. The big thing is you want to use, you can do this in really two ways to quickly clone and adjust days. So I'm going to go over to my little avatar here that I use for demonstrations to protect the innocent. And I have a bunch of different programs assigned to this avatar, so we'll go over that here in a second. So we're going to go to the client page. Now, when you're on the client page, you can, if you have a pre-scheduled program, a calendar-based program, it's really easy to do it from this page. Here's an example. Here's a powerlifting program that I have for this avatar. I can do it real easily from this by clicking on the workout and then copying it. And then I can, a bunch of little different options pop up on the calendar. Then I can just quickly add it there that way. So that's one way. The other way, I'm going to go into a program that's assigned as a playlist. You want to go into the program builder view. So I just go click on the three dots, the magic three dots, press edit program, and it takes you into the program builder view. And this kind of works the same way. You just click on the training session in question, copy it, and then it gives you the option to put that wherever you would like it. The other cool thing that was a recently added feature is that when I copy a program, as long as I have other phases assigned, I can copy it to a different phase, which you used to not be able to do. So that's been a cool thing too. So I will use that a lot when we are wanting to look back at a previous phase. We will temporarily drop in, like to say the last training session or two from where our last phase and put it into the current phase to allow us to make adjustments. So that just drops right in there. And then what I would also suggest doing before you copy it, just write previous phase or kind of change the name of it or go into it and change the name of it. So you can say last phase or whatever, last training session on it. Okay, so that is the answer to that question. Real simple way to go in and quickly clone and adjust those days. You can move them around, drag and drop them to any spot that you want. All right, so the next question, which is kind of similar to this, is how do I reorder my weeks? And this is another pretty simple fix too. I'm going to go ahead back into phase one here. So again, we're going to do this from the builder view here on the calendar, the training phase. And the way you would do this is just go over, click on the magic three dots again, and press reorder weeks. So all I'm going to simply do is choose whatever week that I want to move. And I'm going to drag week 6 here all the way up to week 1. Now, one of the things that we do in our programming, just to make it real clear, like if I go in and open up phase 1, like we're using an A/B plan, for example. So that's where it's flexible. It can be done either 2 or 3 days a week. I label them workout 1, day A, then day B is workout 1, day B. Then the next week is going to be day A, workout 2, day B, workout 2. The playlist lists them in order when the client sees them, so it's not necessarily necessary, but I like to do it just from a programming standpoint so I know what I moved and what's where. So that's just a little extra tip for you. So when I reordered week 6, that was previous week 6, and brought it up here, you'll notice now this is day A, workout 6. So that's just an easy way to stay organized with that. This works the same way. Oops, I'm gonna go back here, go into my avatar again. If I'm using the calendar assignment for programs, it works very similarly. So I'm gonna switch over here to one of our I just use powerlifting because that's the one that I typically use as fixed calendar days. I can do this actually from the calendar view on the client page. I can reorder the weeks, or I can also do them from the builder calendar if I go to edit program. So it works the exact same way. So just in playlist view, you have to actually go to the builder. Okay, so I would just simply go to the builder. The way to quickly get back to the builder, by the way, if I click on a phase, is to just go back one spot from the phase you're on, and that will take you to the builder view. And then I click on my magic 3 dots here, and I can reorder things again. So I can move stuff around. And again, you'll notice how they're labeled as workout 1 all the way through workout 2, etc. with that. All right. Let's go back to home. We'll go back to the PowerPoint again. All right. Great question here. This is one that I love to answer, and this is one of the super cool features within BridgeAthletic on the micro level. We talk about, you know, going from big picture to small picture. And the question was, can you say workout prescription independently from exercises? And the quick answer to that is yes, yes, you can. And I showed this, I believe, in the last webinar that I did, talking about template sets, and that's why I underline that. That's my emphasis there. The person who asked the question said, my clients use interval training and I need to save template sets like 10 seconds on, 50 seconds off for 5 rounds without assigning it to a specific movement. Okay, so let's talk about that and show you how to do that actually in the real time. So if I go over here to my general fitness program, and for phase 1 of a general fitness program, I want to assign some conditioning work. And for us, there's nothing in here. So I'm going to add that in here right now. So let's do this in real time. And let's just use a simple example. I actually have a block built out for this. So rather than having to go do that from scratch, I'm going to go to the magic 3 dots here again. And I'm going to switch this. And I usually, the way I build this out is I tag it with the conditioning thing for the block in question. And here is an example of that, the air assault. I'm going to just press the switch button, and that's going to drop it in here. Now, I only want to have 5 sets here, so I'm going to build that back, and I'm going to put 50 seconds here because this is what the person who asked the question wanted. If I open that up, then this is more of a note to the coach themselves, really from a programming standpoint, because I'm going to build this out over the course of the weeks. But these are the parameters, let's say, that I want. Okay? I want these to not, I want just the parameters to be saved, not to the exercise in question. So the real simple way to do this is to just go over here and press Save Sets as Templates. And I'm going to call this 10 seconds on / 50 seconds off, just for the sake of making it easy. And then I'm going to save it. So now those are actually saved as template sets. So if I go over here, and sometimes these are a little bit hard to see because they're kind of grayed out here, but just know they're here. I'm going to go to use template sets. And if I go to The ones that I've created with my coach credentials, they live right here for their organization. These are shared between coaches. They live right here. I'm going to click on that. So there's a bunch of different things that you see that we have saved. This actually might be already, or might already be a 10 seconds on protocol. I don't know. I might have one of those built in here somewhere. There's a 60 seconds on 120-second protocol. So I've actually previously built some of these. Here's the one that I just built, and I can drop that in. Let's say it's going to obviously do that. Let's say I want to switch to that 60 seconds on, 120 seconds off protocol. I'm going to click on that right now. And it's asking me if I want to do that for sure. So I press yes. And then that protocol switches. The other nice thing is any notes that you save are also saved with that feature. So if you have some specifics you want to write in there, you can write those in there. It only does it for the parameters. It's not attached to any exercise in particular. The way you would attach it to an exercise is what I did when I switched that whole block out. So I would do that and save the whole template block if I want to attach it to an actual exercise. So hopefully that answers that question for the person who asked it, and that is helpful. So absolutely, yes, you can do that, and you can and should do that with a lot of different things because it will save you a lot of time, especially within those specialty set rep protocols that you use. All right, the next question is, how can I create template programs? I've answered this in some of the previous webinars that I've done, how to do this. So I showed how we do it at Results Fitness, and there's a lot of information on that in previous webinars that, as Lauren mentioned, are saved in the playlist. I'll quickly go over that, though, as well. So let's show you that. Oops. There we go. All right. All you simply need to do is, when you write a program, what we did at our gym is we saved, there's a couple places you can put these things. For your organization, you will have a folder created, and you can put all of your templates in that folder. And that's probably what I would suggest doing. I got to go back and clean a lot of stuff. I started to move stuff over, and then I stopped. What I originally did is I just put them in the No Teams folder. And that's where I built a lot of our templates. So for example, let's kind of move this over to show folders first, this little button. So all of our templates that we built, I just made a folder for it over here. You just simply do that from the screen here. These are all the folders. If you just open that up, that'll show you where they all are. You can create a new folder and do that. I would actually, if I had this to do over, I would put them all within our organization folder here, just because it'd be easier for everyone to find with that, but I just haven't moved them over yet, full disclosure. So these are a lot of different things that we have in here. I'm going to show you just the kind of general fitness templates. Open that up. And what I did is when I built this out, when I copied everything over from Excel way back in the day, I just made this a template, which is basically within your organization an unassigned program, okay? Now, the key thing when you do this is you want to make sure that you clearly label that is a template. I've made a note for the coaches, make sure you make a copy of this. The problem with this is if a coach can go and open this up, and if they don't manually go over here and clone it, that will screw up your original. Okay, so that's really, really important. You go over here, you have your template created. Step one, you have to teach this to your coaches, is you have to make a clone or a copy of that, and then you would go through and just change the name to whatever you want it to be. Let's say it's Craig #1. It's how we do things, where you put the person's client's first and last name and the macro cycle number in it, and then save it. Okay, so that is basically how you would do that. Whatever program or programs you have written, you can clone a copy of it and make it a quote unquote template. Now, I will tell you this too. We have our platinum enterprise level package with BridgeAthletic. There are things that you'll see within, if you have access to the Exos programs, that say template over here, tomato, however you want to say that. When you click on something that is labeled this, it will auto clone a copy. Okay, so it will auto clone a copy for you. Within your private organizations, you don't have that feature, because these are only reserved for Exos and some of our people that we work with through Results Fitness University. So you have to use that unassigned program as a template. So I hope that terminology and a nomenclature, right, at the bane of our existence, isn't too confusing. So use that within your organization to create your templates, but label it template in the lingo, and make sure that your clients or your coaches copy or clone those programs so they don't screw up your original documents. The same thing that you would have if you were using Excel and you had a blank for Excel and somebody copied over that and used it, you would screw up the original. So make sure that they do that. All right, well, let's move on to the next question here. Time's flying by as we're having fun. Another really good question. How do I program for multiple workouts in a day, and how does it appear for my athletes? So this is actually really, really easy to do. I'll show you how to do it here in just a moment. I'm going to show you another screen here. So first, I'm actually answering the second part of that question, which is how does it appear to my athlete? Now, this is in the mobile view. So what I did is just did a screen capture on my phone. I logged in as that avatar that I use, and I suggest doing that too. Have an avatar that you use so you know how this appears to your clients or athletes. So I assigned a couple different programs, which I'll show you on the back end here in a moment, powerlifting programs, which I assign on the calendar. And then I also have a playlist program assigned to a client as well. If I go on the specific day, I can click on that day and I scroll up. There's 2 programs listed for that day because they're scheduled to be done on that day. So when you use calendar view, that happens, then you'll see a little dotted line, and these are the playlist sessions that I can also do on those days if I was doing 3 workouts in that day. So you would need to communicate that though in some form or fashion to your client that that's what you want them to do. So for example, a lot of my clients, maybe I have one of my powerlifting clients, I have a specific powerlifting program assigned to them on a Monday, the 22nd, that they're supposed to do. But I also want them, when they get home at night, I have some mobility work that I want them to do at night. So I use a playlist program and I assign that to them at night. And I tell them, hey, every night I need you to go through and do this playlist program. The beauty of the playlist is you only have to write 1 session, and they can just keep on repeating that session, and I can see on the calendar if they're completing that session because it can be tracked off. So that's that idea of that accountability, right? If you know someone's watching, you tend to behave a little bit differently. So that's the beauty. And I can ask them, hey, what's going on with your mobility programs? I don't see them being completed. So that's the beauty of that. I could assign those mobility things to specific calendar days too, each day that they're going to see if they're having problems remembering as well to execute those things. But I usually just follow up myself by looking at it. So hopefully that answers that as far as that goes. Let's show you how to actually do it. Okay, I'm going to open up my bridge tester person here again. I'm going to go to their client page. And if you take a look over here at their training schedule, and I open that up, I've assigned 4 different programs to this avatar. Okay, so I can assign multiple programs to this one person. I'll assign a mobility workout here in just a moment and show you exactly how to do that. These are all the previous programs that have been assigned to this client for demonstration purposes. Okay, so let's go ahead and assign well, let's just use this. It's a quick way to do that. I'm going to assign it right to that avatar. I'm going to go to assign training, Coach Craig, and it's going to go to my bridge tester. Let's just use that mobility example. I know I call it mobility. This is a mobility session that I've assigned to myself personally. I'm just going to use that and assign it to this person. I'm going to assign a copy of it, which is nice. Not the exact program, because otherwise it puts 2 clients on that same program. And if I make adjustments to that, it makes a copy of it. For one client, it makes it an individual program. So I'm just going to assign a copy of this program. I'm going to put it as, I can choose either playlist or on a calendar. I'm going to do it as a playlist. So that's highlighted. I could do it as a calendar. As I mentioned, I want this done daily for this client in question. I can certainly do that for an extra layer of accountability. I press next. Then it asks me to confirm. I assign training. And then at the time that I assign that training, it's going to ask me, it's going to show me all the programs or whatever workouts, if you've created individual training session workouts, mobility sessions for this client. If I want to keep them active, if I want to turn any of them off, I can do so by just clicking on that button right here, and that'll complete the program for that client. I'm going to leave all these on, press yes. I choose not to bombard them with emails, so I'm going to turn that off and say no, and then I'm going to assign training. And then it is done. Then I go to my avatar. Is actually a quick way to do that. In case you didn't know that, by the way, just hover over that, because it's always defaults to put the latest edited program in the list. I'm going to click on that. It's going to take me to the client page. And then that new mobility program is listed there. And I forgot to ask Lauren this question because I haven't ever come across it. I don't know what the limit is on how many programs you can assign to any individual athlete. Is there a limit on that, Lauren?
Not that I'm aware of. So
Yeah.
it must be fairly high if there is a limit, because this has not come up often.
Yeah, I haven't ran into the problem ever.
Yeah.
So cool. If you find one, let us know, because I don't think there is. All right, because that's actually the next question. Is there a max number of programs that can be assigned at one time? That is like I said, that's a super cool feature. That is really, really awesome within the bridge. And hopefully that helps show you that. I kind of answered that question as we went through that. All right. This is a really unique question, which I like a lot. This has come up a lot. So the question is, what is the best process for managing programs when my client is on vacation? So this probably comes up the most when someone has a program that's assigned with calendar on the calendar day. So I'll show you a quick answer to that I've used when I've assigned, like I have a powerlifter on vacation right now, as a matter of fact, and they're coming back next week, so they're missing a week of training sessions, and then they can get kind of wonky, like, what do I need? How do I move things around? Let's show you how I do that, and then I'll kind of elaborate on this question a little bit as well. So let's go through and show you this idea. Let's use this powerlifting demo. All right, so let's say this is just a 3-week phase built out. There's 1 day missing. I'm going to copy it real quick and just put it right here just to make it look a little cleaner. So there's a little 3-week phase. Now, let's say my client is on vacation this 2nd week. So what do I do for this? If they're going to miss that, I want to move it to the week after. Here's what I do. I go into the builder view. I'll go into week 3. And then what I'm going to do is just add week. What I simply do is make 3 workouts, believe it or not. All right, workout A. I clone it. Actually, what I'm going to do, right, workout A, vacation, off, because they're not training at all this week. Delete this. I just have to make a couple quick things. There are 3 workouts they're missing. I want to keep these in order too, just so in case I want to use load progression view, this keeps everything kind of lined up. And boom, they have an ABC program that they have assigned to them. And then what we're going to use, I'm going to go back to the calendar view, or the builder. And then what I'm simply going to do, I need to edit that real quick. Sorry about that. That's my OCD disorder kicking in here. So it says workout C, it's just going to bother me. Or workout 2, I'm going to change it to 3. Now go back to the builder view. Now I need to reorder the weeks. That question someone asked about earlier. So they're missing the 2nd week. So what I'm going to do, that last week that I wrote was the vacation week right here. If I scroll over it, by the way, you can scroll over it so it shows me what it actually says. The other one that's cut out, I'm going to reorder right here. I'm going to move this to week 2. So this is actually the last week in this phase, quote unquote. I'm going to move it up here to week 2. Then I'm going to save it. Okay. Now what I would do when they are gone, when it's been missed, you just mark it as completed. The vacation was completed. So I just mark that. There's nothing in it. I just mark it as completed. So there's nothing being tracked except for the fact that when the client sees it, they won't have those, it won't show up as a missed session because it was a planned vacation. So that's how I do that with my power lifters, and that moves everything down to the order it was supposed to be in. So someone's just missing a week, a lot of times, especially with the powerlifting population, that serves as a deload, really. And they can come back and pretty much pick up where they left off if they're only missing a week. If they were missing longer, I'd obviously need to make some adjustments to the program. If they were gone for a month, I may just reassign the program to the current time that they're coming back on and restart it. The power of using playlist view with our clients is we have that flexible program design, meaning you're just, let's show you that just so I'm not kind of speaking abstractly here. They're just executing. If I press view workout, they're just executing. This is off order, obviously, because I moved those things when I was demoing. They're just executing these sessions in order, so they can just pick up where they left off if they only missed, you know, a week or so. Again, if they missed a bunch of time, maybe we restart the program, or they're having to reduce loads by 10% or so. That's the thing there. That's how we would handle that. It's obviously more of an issue from a programming standpoint with calendar view and less of an issue from a programming standpoint with playlist view with short times off for vacation. So hopefully that answers that question for you. That's how we manage the actual programs. All right, another good question. What are the best practices for making edits to an individual's training plan midway through a program phase without changing it for all of the clients on that same phase or program? So one of the things that we're definitely known for at Results Fitness is kind of being the best at assigning individual programs. We really individualize everything for our clients, and we do that intentionally, without a doubt. We don't write programs where we assign multiple people to them for the most part. We have individual memberships. So that's what we do, and that's my kind of bias towards that. But I do understand a lot of coaches have one program and they assign multiple clients to that program. If you go into the program where you have multiple clients assigned to it and make adjustments, it's going to create an individualized program now for that client that you made adjustments for. So what I would suggest doing is, if you're going to do that and make adjustments, the first question I would ask is, what adjustments are you making? Usually the big adjustments you're making is changing exercises, right, for those clients, because they can, on the Bridge app, when they're logged in as an individual, the loading and all that stuff is already individualized. So what I would suggest doing is using the feature of the exercise changes or progressions within the programs. So these are the things where you can have the client have the ability to be able to select exercises, okay? So what this does, if you pick an exercise and it doesn't fit that client, you can have alternative exercises selected for the client to choose. And that's the best way that I would say is do this on the back end and create these programs so that you know what alternatives or progressions or regressions you would use for the exercise pattern for the client in question or for a group of clients. And that's what I would do. So that's how I would set it up, is using that. And I can show you how to do that here real fast as well, okay? So let's show you that. So let's open up this program. And let's just go into, let me delete this phase or this week, just to get it out of the way there. Open that up. Let's say I had multiple people assigned to this program. So let me back up too, just so I'm not kind of speaking out of turn here. So if I can add multiple clients to this program. Right now I only have one client assigned to it. So this is where I would add multiple clients to if I was doing group training, okay? And I wanted to use one program. So I would have all these people on here. If I went in and made adjustments to this program, it's going to adjust it for everybody that the program is assigned to. So this is what I am suggesting. When you first get ready to assign this program, do this ahead of time. Let's just say for the box sit squat here, for example, I'm going to go down to the bottom of this and move my GoToWebinar panel so I can see here. Go to add alternative exercises. Now, what we have done within our organization is created a bunch of templates, actually. So I go to that, my templates. These are ones I did underneath my coaching credentials. I do most of my work from the admin tab, so that's where everything kind of lives. So let me go down here to the squat symmetrical category. I can search this to make it a little bit faster, but I'm just going to do it in a scroll. So I'm going to insert this in here. And now it's going to give me all of these other alternative exercises, and I can click use same prescriptions as the primary exercise if I wanted to, or I could customize them for each of these by taking this off. I obviously would probably do that for I actually don't need this one. So I would delete this exercise because it's already the one in question. Delete it. But if I was going to use a goblet squat, I want to use different prescriptions for that. So I'm going to switch this from height to weight. And we would probably use a kettlebell. So most of the time I would use kilograms and put that in there. I could go through and do this on all the other exercises. I could get rid of some of these exercises, whatever I wanted to do. Okay. So that is what I would suggest doing if the main thing that you're changing, and probably would be the main thing you're changing in a group scenario, is the exercise, because most of the other stuff is going to be pretty standardized. Because otherwise, when you start really changing programs, you're writing an individual program eventually. And that's kind of what my argument has always been about group programming, is the minute I change something, even changing an exercise, I'm doing an individual program, really, for all intents and purposes. So that's an easy way to do that without having to go into the program and create an individual program on the bridge for a client. So hopefully that answers that question for you, and will save you some time. That's what I would definitely do. And that can be a way to leverage your work as well. All right, here's another question. If a client puts in a specific load used for week 1, will week 2 automatically progress their weight based on what they used in the first week? So I think this question is referring to when you are prescribing absolute loads. And the answer to that is no. The loads will not be progressed automatically for the next week. So for example, let's look at our kettlebell deadlift here and open that up. What I've done here, look at parameters. We have a weight parameter selected. If I open that up, and then all my options as far as assigning weight are prescribed. And we're going to talk about this in the next webinar, load assignments and prescriptions and stuff. I'm going to use absolute load right here. So this gives us a lot of freedom when we choose absolute load. You know, we're going to use a kettlebell for a kettlebell deadlift, obviously. So we're going to use kilos for this because all of our kettlebells are in kilos at our gym. And we're going to use just a singular weight for that, not a range. You could use a range, which is one of the ways you can do this, and put a specific weight range suggested in on this for a client if you wanted to do that, which can give them some boundaries and constraints, which isn't a bad idea, what you expect them to use. What we do is just leave it blank. So this is a coaching decision, obviously, especially if someone's first time in the gym, that they're going to make on the fly. I'm not going to put something in there, because what happens a lot of times when you write something, that becomes basically set in stone and the 10 commandments, and they're going to do that come the hell or high water. I'm using that weight because it was written into the program, unless you clearly state that it's not in there. So this allows a little bit of freedom. So that's how I would utilize absolute loads. But again, we'll talk about that in the next webinar about, best practices for doing that. And there's lots of different ways to do that. Now, let's say I was executing this program on the user side of things, and I used a 32K kettlebell for 12 reps in workout 1 for a beginner. I would write that in. And then the next workout session, let's go to week 2, it's still going to, again, this is the builder view, but on the client side of things, it's going to list this as 0 because it's programmed back here as 0. I would need to pre-program those weights out in order to have something populated in there. Okay, we don't do that. We just look back at the previous workout and then make a suggestion for the next workout. We use the comments feature a lot as coaches to write that in there. And when we're on the fly with the program and weight room mode, we'll write that, add 5 pounds, add whatever, 4 kilos, add 8 kilos next training session. We'll use the comments to note that stuff when using absolute loads. Okay, what we used to do in our old Excel spreadsheets at Results Fitness is come on. For example, I wrote this out real quick before we did the webinar, is the way our spreadsheet, our old spreadsheets looked, is we had columns. There would be an A day and a B day on the other side. We just alternated between A and B day. And this would list the day we were on. It was Friday, the 19th. And I would write in all this stuff by hand. I did it via pencil, but my writing was really hard to read. So it's easier to do this right now to demonstrate, to write the actual, type it in. Let's say, for example, for a goblet squat, I would write in by hand 80 pounds. And then for the next session, if I wanted my client to go to 85 pounds, I would write that in to the next session. I just wouldn't date it. So that's kind of what our process was back in the day. With using absolute loads on the bridge, I'm going to execute 80 pounds in a session, but it's not going to populate to 85 pounds. It's going to be blank, just like it would on Excel, unless you manually go in and write it in. Now, the alternative to that is to use the percent difficulty feature, okay, which you can pre-populate out when you're designing out a program. And this has been, the feature works great. You just need to collect training data, you know, to get it to be real accurate, but the system does do that over time, and you can just plot this out. And there is a handy chart that comes up that shows you the percent difficulty that pops up. And I actually talked about this in the last webinar in great detail, so I'll spare you from that right now. But just understand, for all intents and purposes, when we're talking about percent difficulty, that's percentage of a given repetition maximum, not one rep max, but a specific repetition maximum. Meaning that, for example, this is a little chart from Danielle Butcher from the Citadel and Adam Fight that they created. These are repetitions on the top row here. So this is, let's just use 8 repetitions, for example. A 100% difficulty is 100% 8 rep max, which is this number over here is the relative percentage of 1 repetition max, just to make it real confusing. Okay, this is 1 repetition max going down this column, and this is percentage of 8 rep max. Is kind of the best way to think about that. So you can typically, if we use this feature, for us, we're working, you know, somewhere in the range of, and in that last webinar, I kind of showed a chart that I used to equate this with RIR. You can equate that and write that out, which will help kind of get you close in the ballpark of those numbers that you want across a training cycle. And the way you would get to that, just to show you real quick, is percent difficulty right here. You just click on that, write that in. You would fill it out across all weeks. So kind of 2 ways to go about doing that, but that is a long-winded answer to tell you that's how you get it to populate for the next session, is to use percent difficulty currently. All right. All right. Now, actually, forgot. I actually wrote this out. So that's what it would look like if I was using just a back squat, for example. I'd pre-plan that out, and then on the client end, once some data is collected, it would start populating out a actual absolute number for them versus the percentage that you see here. Again, just be sure you understand what that percentage is. It's a percentage. This is to illustrate. This is 90% of my 5 rep max, my estimated 5 rep max based on the data in the system, and 95% of my 5 rep max, which is a different 1 rep max number, of course. Okay. How can we share programs between coaches? Also, can you discuss the main difference between admins and coaches? Is there a way to restrict coaches from access to other coaches, clients, and programs? Great question. Okay, I am logged in right now with my coach credentials. Okay, I also have a separate account that we call the Bridge admin. I created a separate email for this that is the bridge admin. Now, the difference, let's first answer that second part of the question. Coaches have restricted access to be able to do certain things in the bridge. The admin has unrestricted access and is basically the overseer of everything in the bridge. They have control over everything. So that's the main difference. Coaches basically are in charge of, have access to anything that they create, and also to any teams that they are assigned to. You notice in our organization, I have the admin assigned to my team. That's where I use most of the time as I log in as the admin. And myself, I created coach credentials for. All the other teams only have one coach on them. So they can't actually, you can't go in and kind of mess around with some other coaches' clients. The way we do things in our organization is all the coaches have athletes or clients assigned to them, and they are on their team. That way they have the accountability of knowing who they are responsible for. Now, if I go into the library, it defaults to showing me all of the programs on my team and my team only. So I don't see all of the other stuff. So that's a cool thing. I can look at, again, I don't really use this for myself. So it shows the programs that I have on here. The completed programs, if I click on that, will pop up here as well. This shows all the programs in our organization. And then all the programs within our organization, all the programs we have access to, whether they're completed, online, templates, and all that kind of stuff, all shows up here, but it's only that have been done by my teams. Now, if I want to get into everything with my coach credentials, I can do that by clicking on all teams. So this is how I can go in and share programs with other coaches, because I can just go in and find that, and it's going to show all the teams. If I want to go in and find that for a certain client, that's why we label them by client name. I can go in and find it here by switching to that all teams. So that's what I would tell you is the best way to share it between coaches. Just do that. Or you can make a copy of it and put it into the coach's team folder if you wanted to, but not really necessary, because you can just use this feature. Now, with my coach credentials, because I am not an assigned coach on Jenny's team right now, if I try and click on that, I can't get in that. Only the admin can access that or grant me access to that. So that keeps me from getting on that. And I can't do that for any of the clients in the organization, because I can't look at that stuff. Those are kept to that coach. All right, next question. Our organization uses a lot of custom movement screens with some FMS and other measurements such as range of motion. Can you create your own specific screen in Bridge? If so, do you recommend building out a custom workout form or creating a workout in the builder? What I would do if you're going to do that, forms are a super high level program package with enterprise stuff. So you need to have an enterprise membership to actually customize and build your forms, because it's a pretty complicated feature that is only available to enterprise members. So definitely, if you're going to make it customized and have to administer it that way, I would use it as a build out a workout in the builder. That would be my answer to that. We actually did that during the pandemic. We had some of our affiliate gyms actually just put an FMS screen as a program and send that out to their clients with some videos attached to it that showed them how to kind of do a self FMS screen, and they would do it that way and then send it back. And the client or the coach could actually review the videos when they videoed themselves doing the FMS screen. So it was a kind of way to leverage that. So yeah, that's what I would suggest, is building a workout in the builder to do that if you're going to customize some kind of screen. The nice thing about using the FMS is it's already built out. It kicks out the whole progressions and corrections for you when you go into FMS data as well, once that information is inputted into the system. The next question, again, this is specific to platinum level members. Somebody that has a platinum level membership must have asked about this. Can you demonstrate how to use and save progressions in the library? Let's do that real fast, and then we'll see if we have any time for questions and we can wrap things up. So again, this is a platinum level feature. I'm going to go into the library, and here's how we use this. Progressions are simply, you can use this for exercise progressions. I think we did that previously. Exos has some medicine ball progressions worked out here. I've used some stuff with the strong first fighter pull-up progression has been built out with this. Different snatch training protocols I've utilized with it. Built out some Jim Wendler 5-3-1 cycles with it. All kinds of different things have been built out. Let's just open up a 5-3-1 cycle since people are pretty familiar with that. I'm going to open that up and look at it. I think I did. Maybe. That's interesting. Glitching on me a little bit there. Let me take a peek here again. And it might be because I am in my coach credentials. Let me click out of that real quick and go into my admin credentials. Apologies. All right. So what I've used progressions for, I was doing exercise progressions here, but then I stopped doing that because I just use that alternative exercises for our exercise progression. So that's what I would use there. If you want to build something out, you certainly can with this. There it is. Okay, so problem solved. What you do is just create, the way I built these out, I just use this in the, I have like a little demo thing that I use that I assign to myself. Then I just build this stuff out there. And then I put them in each thing by itself. So if I'm going to use this for like a hex bar deadlift that I did in this example, I save this as a progression for us. I save it as a template block. I haven't used it in a long time. When I built this, what I did was I created warm-up sets, and then I created what I wanted as far as progressions go for the 5-3-1, so each individual day, and I wrote this out. Then what I can do is I can drop this in to any program that I want to put it in, kind of an additional add-on. So if I wanted to use this in general fitness for the bridge, which I wouldn't do, I could open up a workout day. And then simply go down here to add block, add a block progression, and I can add this cycle in here for whatever I want to use it. So I could drop a part of it or the whole thing in here and drop it in and drag it up to where I want it to be. It's only getting built out for 3 weeks, so it would ask me to do that. I could not put it in, I just want to use the first day of it, maybe I would do this. And just for whatever reason, let's say I would use it here. This is going to just take that week 1 and drop it in there. And you'll see that I can kind of plug little different specialized, kind of planned out in training cycles, progressions for sets, reps, whatever, snatch training programs, kettlebell swing programs, and put them in there. So you could use this for conditioning protocols, lots of different things. And no, we're running up against time here, so I don't want to go on too much longer. It's kind of a real quick explanation of that. So maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into that next time when we get into stuff talking about how to utilize this feature. But again, it's very specialized and only with certain packages. So you can also create things like this with template blocks for sure. You can create just a program as a drop-in. I did this for some push-up plans that I've written out. I just wrote out a program, then I drop stuff in from weeks of the program in a similar fashion to other programs. So it works in the same format, but maybe we can go into that in a little more detail in a different webinar or something like that. So with that said, I know we're up against the clock here, and I apologize for rushing through that part. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense as far as progressions go, and I can answer any other questions that anybody may have.
It looks like we don't have any others submitted right now. So in case someone is typing in one right now, I'll go over a few of the housekeeping items that we mentioned at the beginning. So this webinar was recorded, so we'll be sending it out to all of you. And we'll also include information about our next webinar, which is on May 24th. As Craig mentioned, it will go over load assignment and practice. So you'll have all the details to sign up for that as well. Okay, we did get one question in that we'll go through quickly and then wrap things up. Do you implement nutrition blocks?
Good question. I have not yet. We've done some stuff where we tried to kind of use some nutrition stuff within the bridge. I kind of tend to, I know there is some stuff on the bridge now with nutrition. I haven't looked at that just yet. I tend to like to keep kind of my tools separated. Like a lot of people like to have everything in one place, which I understand, and kind of have a Swiss Army knife for everything. Me personally, I like to have specialized tools for certain things. It just helps my brain kind of compartmentalize things a little bit better. So I know that all my programming stuff is just done here. I think I talked about this like with the communications. Like I don't do all of our communications through the bridge. I don't want to know scheduling and different things through the bridge. The bridge communications for us is only about programming related stuff, not for scheduling. That's done with a different tool. So for nutrition stuff, I like to keep that in a separate place. So I haven't utilized that, full disclosure, yet. But you can, certainly, if you want to keep it in one place. It's up to you. It's more personal preference.
Yeah, I've seen people build blocks for nutrition, especially with some of our newer parameters. This is a little bit easier to do. And you can also add PDFs of different like recipes you want your clients to follow. So those are the two probably most common that I've seen done in terms of nutrition.
Yeah, look, the best part about it, you can use it either way. So that's the cool part about the bridge too, is you can customize it, make it as inclusive as you want with that stuff, or you don't have to. So you got options available.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have one more question, and then this will be our last one. We're going to wrap things up after this. We perform strength tests in our club. How can we utilize test days for a strength test?
How can you use test days?
Yeah, it sounds like maybe how they could build test days.
That's easy. Just you can build out a workout and just use the, for example.
Your screen not up again.
I'll show you real quick. Thanks. Back on
yep.
now?
Yep, we're in Builder.
Okay. So what I would do, if plan out just make a workout. Like, let me go to, let's see here. I'll show you this real fast. whatever you want. If you have a day, specific day, you can plot this into your program. Let's just say I want to test on into phase 1. So I go to, just because this is convenient, again, not necessarily what I would do in practice, but I'm going to add a week. I'm going to call this test day, and whatever you're testing, I'll just call this test to make it simple. Let's test the hex bar, just because that's on my mind from just seeing it. It's going to ask me for the exercise. I'm going to put in hex bar deadlift. Input that, and then open it up. And then I can select, oops, I want this to be an absolute weight. And it's going to be whatever, 5 rep max, let's say. I'm going to choose required. So they're going to use as much weight as they can for 5 reps. So I would obviously have different build out sets for that, but I can set it up that way. I can have them put a specific weight in and have them do max reps by just clicking over and changing that. So that's the feature that I would use for strength testing type stuff. You can set this up in various ways for whatever you want to test, in all honesty, but that required sets is usually asking for, you know, some kind of maximum effort, whether it be in weights or reps or whatever.
And
but I
then
would just set up a day like that.
Yeah. And then those tests, like those sets will flow into the activity report where you can confirm them as tests and they're saved in the system. So then if you do this quarterly or however frequently you do it, you can go back and see all of their tests for that exercise.
Yep. And if you want to test without them knowing you're testing, the other cool feature to use is just track sets, because that shows up in your feed as well as a coach. And then it will ask you if you want to update a 1 rep max or 5 rep max or whatever else on that for a client.
Yeah, that is great. So hopefully that answered the question. We're going to wrap things up here. Thanks, Craig, for answering all of those questions. This was jam-packed with information. So hopefully everyone found it helpful. Come to our next webinar, and you'll also be able to ask some questions there as well.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that, and hope to see you at the next one.
Great. Thanks, and have a good weekend, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.